Hi everybody, and welcome to my weekday Q&A session. I want to make sure that I can give you the best help that I can during this session. So I'm going to go through some of the emails I've got in today. I've got quite a few emails asking for help. Going through any kind of breakup is always going to be tough. Any kind of breakup is always going to be tough. Going through breakup during lockdown is even harder. Now, that's why I'm running these sessions. So I'm running them to provide support and advice for anyone going through any kind of breakup right now. So please, during this session, do drop your questions in, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Instagram. Please drop your questions down below in the feed so I can best help you today. Okay, I'm here for you. I know that life is really stressful right now for everybody. You know, whether you've been coping well with your breakup, whether your breakup happened a long time ago, some people who've been writing to me, whether you're in the UK or all over the world. I've got clients, people writing to me who are in Australia as well, who are watching these Q&A sessions to help them through breakups. So whatever your situation, please know that I want to give you the best that I can. That's why I'm doing these, and I want to help you by giving you my advice. So please, if you've got any questions, don't worry about whether it sounds silly or it's not appropriate or whether anyone else will be interested, because I promise you there are people watching who will learn from whatever you're going through. So I'm going to crack on with my first question. Hi Sarah, and this is from a lady in Australia. Thank you for putting the time and effort into your Q&A sessions on Instagram. I'm in Australia and listen to the recording each morning. I'm 3 months into a marriage separation, so 3 months into the separation from a marriage and living alone for the first time in my life. Now, this is something that a lot of my clients will be going through. So you might find that, you know, I had a client yesterday actually who had been with her partner since she was 17, and she'd actually been in a foster care situation, and then she'd been living with her boyfriend and then husband ever since she was 17. And this lady obviously is living on her own for the first time. And so obviously breaking up from them is not just going through the breakup, you're also going through that having to get used to being on your own again. So you're not just dealing with the breakup side of it, as in your heartbreak, you're also getting used to a new situation which you've never been in before, living on your own. I find the mornings the most difficult. So listening to your sessions really helps me get going for the day. Oh, well, wow, big love to you. My ex and I were together for 15 years before separating. And I think the thing that kept us together so long was a strong friendship. We still consider ourselves to be best friends, despite the deep sadness we are both going through with our marriage ending. What are your thoughts on trying to maintain a friendship after separation and divorce? So, really good question. What are my thoughts on staying friends with your ex going through a breakup? Now, this relationship sounds like, you know, they're still obviously really good friends. They still consider each other to be best friends, which is amazing, by the way, and should be really applauded, because if you can go through all that and still want to maintain a friendship, I think that's incredible and should be embraced. So obviously, if you can divorce amicably, that is the best way forward. Divorcing with sort of acrimonious conflict going on, it just is an horrendous process. So doing whatever you can to maintain that is important. However, what I would say is there's a couple of things you need to take into consideration. That a lot of amicable separations start off as amicable, but then when you start discussing finances, who's going to live where, maybe child custody, that can open the floodgates to some level of conflict or resentment, frustration, anger towards each other. So it is important that you know that in advance, because when you start questioning your security, your future lifestyle, stability, changing routine, that's when things can get tricky. So what I would say is it is important to have that discussion up front. Things might get tricky. Things might be difficult, because when we start to talk about finances, so how do we preserve our relationship? Now, being best friends, obviously you're going to have ways that you can talk to each other, communicate to manage that process. And that's what I strongly recommend that you do. I recommend that you sit down, you have a conversation, say, look, we may be best friends now, but we're going to put ourselves through challenging times ahead when we start to negotiate and work out a plan for how we're going to separate our lives. I know that you're a few months into that, 3 months into it. So I don't know much detail, but I'm assuming 3 months in, you haven't really done too much of the divorce preparation yet. Maybe you have, in which case, great. But if you haven't, please have that conversation to make sure that you put some boundaries in place, that you're going to treat each other with love and respect, that if things start to escalate, you're going to have your own way of negotiating that or working out differences, because you will have differences of opinion and what you want. And it's not, how are you going to manage that? What are your usual ways of resolving conflict, and see if they can be effective in this process, and not to let that cause any long-term damage to your relationship. So I think that's important to acknowledge up front together. And then obviously if you can maintain a friendship moving forward, that's great. Now, especially if you've got children, it's good. However, if it's hurting one of you more than the other, it's important to be aware of this, because usually during a breakup, there's one person that's a little bit more okay with it than the other, even if it's amicable. So we've just got to make sure that no one's getting hurt from this process. And if you can manage it, as you're the one that's reaching out to me, is this something you want? Is this something that you feel comfortable with? Oh, sorry, I'll just turn the camera around. Let me try and figure out how to get that back. Here we go. Okay, back. So is that something that you feel comfortable with and you can manage, or is this something that's going to be difficult for you? So that's something that I think is really important for you to work out, because it's a little bit about being selfish right now for you, because you've got to do whatever you can to get through this process intact. So if it works for you to be friendly and amicable, then that's great. If it's hurting you or potentially hurting him, end of the divorce, talking about the money side, and that's something you can come back to. But it's important to get the clarity on that, so that you don't damage the friendship in the process by sort of hanging on to something because that's what you're used to. Things will have to change. And, I suppose it's for you to think about, is it healthy for you to have that closeness still with your ex? If you're going to start dating again, if you want to meet somebody else, then you've got to be open up to having those, having dating and being with other people. What are the boundaries with your ex? Are you going to be able to talk about it? I'm going on a date, or I'm on this dating site. I don't know enough about your relationship to understand if that would be okay, that would be acceptable, if you would be happy for him to do that, if he would be happy for you, he'd want to know the details. Would you want to know the details? Or is that something that you actually think, I'd rather not know that information? So you could have a friendship and be amicable, but maybe you need to redefine the boundaries of what that friendship is going to look like, so that you both look after each other and protect each other moving forward. I think that's really important. So I think it's a really good question. I don't know if anyone else who's watching at the moment has stayed friends with their ex and how that's gone. I mean, I have a lot of clients who maybe go through a bit of a cooling off period and separate their lives and then come back together. What you might find is that the old relationship of friendship doesn't necessarily fit with the new life. When you meet new partners and things, they may not be as comfortable as you are with that. And I think you've got to respect that, because some new partners may find that difficult, because obviously you've shared a whole lifetime with this person. And if you're still very close to them, keep running to them, it may put pressure on your new relationship, which is something that you don't want to do, because you don't want to sacrifice your chance of finding love again because of your ex. So that's an important distinction to make. So I want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, not just holding on to something, holding on to the past, but because it serves you and it helps both of you to move forward. Because you can be amicable and friendly without being best friends. There's a difference there. And it's about thinking about, if you hold on to him, you're going to lose out from having those friendships from other people, or getting close to other people that maybe could offer you something different, something new. And this is about putting behind you, for a lot of people, that relationship and starting a new phase. And it's hard to move forward when you've got one foot on the accelerator pedal and then one foot on the brake, because you're not going to go anywhere. So you just got to make sure. I mean, obviously I don't know enough, and the challenge of not being able to know more information in these sessions is that I can't really deep dive, because what I would do if you were having one-to-one session with me at the moment is I'd unpack all those things and I'd look and discuss them with you so that I can really help you better. But these are thought processes that I encourage you to have and think about how you would move it forward, and how it would help you. Quite often we'll say, oh no, I want to stay friends with my ex and I want to be that, close with them. Is that actually what you want, or is it an excuse for holding on to something that you know that you need to let go of? These are tough questions, I know, but it's something that you really do need to think about, because it could be that you're holding on to something because it's an excuse for not having to confront that it's over, it's done, and you need to move on. because, you know, there's lots of other people you can have fun with and do things with. And if you're always going back to your ex, you're closing off your opportunities to some of those things in a way. So I just want you to make sure that you're clear on that and your reasons are genuine reasons rather than excuses. And I use that word in as nice a possible way, but as your coach to say, you need to shine a light on what are your excuses and what are genuine reasons. Because a lot of the time we will come up with what we will say is, oh, well, you know, I want to do this because, and you'll give yourself something to justify it. Like, I want to keep in touch with my ex because, you know, it's important for something or other, or I need to see my ex every week because, you know, if you've got children, it's different. But if you don't, obviously, then we've got to look at why you're holding on, why you're still doing certain things in a certain way, because quite often it is excuses to stop you from moving forward. And I hear that a lot. So that's something that I talk about a lot with my clients, is just being honest with yourself. Please be honest. Take off those blinkers and say, am I saying this to myself because I genuinely mean it and it is good for me? Or am I saying it because it keeps me in touch with my ex? You know, people staying on social media contact, people sort of still hanging out with certain friends because they might get some information about their ex. You know, that isn't healthy. And also, you know, it keeps you stuck. But a lot of the time we will justify. And by justifying, you're hurting yourself because you're keeping yourself still and not moving forward, but justifying it. And sometimes you need a coach to go, hang on a minute, that sounds a bit of a bullshit excuse to me rather than a genuine reason. But yeah, I think that's important. Yesterday, I had 3 clients that stood out to me. It was 3 messages that really stood out to me on direct messages. And these are from people who are finding that they were not even feeling enough energy to go outside and get their one bit of exercise at the moment during lockdown. And they were saying that they felt so depressed. One man, he was so depressed, and he's finding it really hard. He can't even get from the sofa to go upstairs to bed. I mean, it's that bad. He's finding this whole lockdown, isolating on his own in his home, away from his ex and their kids, just so harrowing that he can't even, you know, I'm saying get up and do stuff, and people are saying I can't even do that, or I can't get off the sofa. Another couple of people were saying very similar things, that they are finding that their energy is at an all-time low. They're lying in and then they're going to bed late. They're not even getting dressed, you know, and this is something that I strongly recommend, is that you get up and before you do anything, you just get yourself in the shower, you know, because we can all form bad habits, but these bad habits are serious because they keep you stuck. You know, they are life restricting. And I know it sounds simple, but a lot of my techniques are super simple because I want you to be able to go do them. You know, I want you to be able to do them even when you're feeling bad. So getting up, going into the bathroom to use the toilet, for example, make sure you force yourself to get in the shower, put your head under, so you wash your hair, you do the things that make you feel more presentable, trying to get back into a routine. You know, even if you're forcing yourself to do that, then put on clothes. You know, don't just put on your pajamas again. Make sure you make an effort, because these things are important. You know, brush your hair, maybe if you want to put on some makeup or put on some jewelry or something, just to make you feel like it's a normal day, and that you have some form of routine. And then coming downstairs, making sure you're eating properly. You know, another client who just said she's feeling really guilty because she's been eating loads of chocolate. Hey, I mean, who hasn't been eating loads of chocolate? It's Easter, you know, a lot of people do. So please don't beat yourself up over things like that. You can't change the past. You know, if you've eaten a chocolate massive Easter egg and a lot more chocolate than you normally would, then it's done. Worrying about it is not going to change it. Okay, what we need to do is take that energy and channel it into something a bit more positive. You know, one of the things that helps you get out of that cycle is to have other things around the home that you can snack on that aren't chocolate. Yeah, obviously, if you don't have chocolate in the house, it's very hard to snack on chocolate. If you've got kids and it's Easter, it's going to be very hard. So I would say one of the good things you could do is just to find something else. So maybe try getting something sweet like a melon or something that you can buy next time you venture out on your one shopping trip, to put melon in your shopping basket. That's quite sweet and quite sort of, you know, high in natural sugar, which maybe if you had that, you wouldn't crave so much the chocolate. So just trying to, because one of the things that, as your coach, I want to tell you, you can't take away something. I can't tell you to stop doing something. And you can't tell yourself to stop doing something effectively without replacing it with something else. You can't stop a behavior. So if I say to you, please don't keep texting your ex, it's really good advice, but it's not going to help you, because you're going to then, when it comes up again, you'll go, I'm not supposed to do that. Your brain's going to go, well, what am I going to do then? And you'll go, I better text my ex, because we haven't come up with anything else to find something else to replace it with, which is absolutely fundamental to effective coaching and helping you move forward. Okay, so what can you replace it with? If you're eating way too much chocolate, I'm not going to tell you to stop eating any chocolate, because again, that's ridiculous. You know, we've got to have some balance. But even if you swap some of that chocolate for some sweet melon, that might make a bit of a difference. You see what I mean? It's about small steps, but giving yourself another avenue. Even if you think about eating the melon and don't, that's progress. Okay, so don't beat yourself up, please, because there's nothing that can change the past. What you can do is just take that worrying energy and that feeling guilty and channel it into doing something a bit more positive. You know, so it's about learning to take control, not beating yourself up, but having higher standards for yourself. You know, having those standards to say, no, I'm going to try this and I'm going to do it. And then maybe if you eat the melon and then you eat the chocolate later, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You ate the healthy melon, maybe you would have eaten double chocolate. Do you see what I mean? It's about not beating yourself up, but just putting some other solutions in place that you can navigate these tough times. Okay. For those of you that feel you can't even get out of the house to exercise, please just try this. Okay. Go to your front door. Some of you are in flats or whatever. Go down to the main entrance. Okay. Even in your pajamas, I don't care if you're brave enough to go out. I want you to go down to the front door and I want you to open it and I want you to step outside and I want you to take 10 deep breaths and I want you to just have a little look around, walk around in a circle for 1 minute and then come back in. Okay, 1 minute. And if you can't do that, open a balcony, go out on a balcony window. I know one of my clients, she's got like a Romeo and Juliet balcony, so she can't even walk out on it, but just open up, see the world outside. Okay, I want you to be seeing what's going on outside of your isolation box. And I want you to be breathing in that air. Okay, obviously maintaining safety distances and everything else that we've got to do at the moment, and whatever's applicable, whatever country you're in watching this. Because what that does is just dipping your toe into that possibility. Okay, you can always get back into bed and carry on with what you were doing before if that's what you want, that negative behavior which is keeping you stuck. But I want you to give yourself the opportunity to dip your toe into the water of what it would be like if you were getting up to go outside, if you were going to do that, you know, if you were going to get outside and go for a walk. Because what I'm hoping is that when you do it once, you go, oh, it's quite nice out here today. It's nice just to get a bit of fresh air. Maybe I'll just go for a bit of a longer walk. Just repeating it every day, not just a one-off. Do it every day. Open the door, go for a 1 minute walk, take some deep breaths, come back in. I promise you, you're going to start to want to spend more time outside. You are, because you're going to feel, oh, okay, this feels good. And your body's going to crave that. And then the momentum is going to sit. But it's not by saying, I've got to go and do some exercise. Oh my goodness, I don't want to do any exercise. It's just by saying, I'm going to open the door and go outside for a minute and then I'm going to come back in. Do you see how it's breaking it down to simple things that you can manage right now? You can do. It's not overwhelming. It's not going to set you back. It's not going to cause you any difficulties to do that. It might be pushing you out of your comfort zone. I'll give you that. But that's okay, because you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to get the same results. So if you're watching this hoping that I'm just going to wave a magic wand and say, okay, you don't need to do anything, it's not going to be that way, I'm afraid. You're going to have to take some kind of action. Now, ideally, you would go out ready to go for a walk or a run or something, and then once you get outside, you do it. But that might not happen to day 2 or day 3. But that's okay, because you're making progress, and it's all about putting one foot in front of the other as you go. So these things are very, very important, even though they're super simple and small. So if you do have any questions, do pop them in, because I know there's quite a few people on here, and I'm trying to make sure I give you everything I can while I've got another 9 minutes. So if you do have any questions, you do have anything that specific to you that I can help you with, then do drop it down. Another question that I've been asked is obviously people are really struggling with the homeschooling going on, and the partners aren't really being particularly supportive. I had an email from a lady saying that My partner is expecting me to do all the homeschooling because that's going to fall on my time and he's going to have the children at the weekends. Okay, and she's finding this very difficult. The thing is, we can't worry about things we can't control, and if you've got your children during that point, then it is going to be your responsibility to do that. Homeschooling is, no doubt about it, an absolute friggin' nightmare for those of us who are single parents trying to juggle kids. Now, I've got other emails from people saying they've got 2 or 3 kids, they don't even have enough laptops, they need Zoom accounts. They don't have a Zoom account. If they do, they're using it for work. I know that's an issue with me. I'm using my Zoom account for work. Now I've got to manage my work schedule. And when I see my clients around my kids' school timetable. So, I mean, there's lots of challenges which we're all going to go through. The thing is, you can only do your best. Okay, you can only do your best. And I know that all of you want to be these super parents, like epic mom, epic dad. And if you don't, it's an epic fail, as my son would say. But the thing is, you can't manage that situation. It's very difficult to try and strive for perfection because perfection never exists. You're going to come in here. So what we want to do is just avoid setting ourselves up for failure. Have a think, make a plan, talk to your child, say, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to create some space for you to work from. This is your space, you go there, this is what you're going to do. And then from there, you do your best because no one is expecting you to be a magician. Now, I don't know if any of you saw that Israeli rant, that woman. I was going to try and put it on my feed, but I couldn't figure out how to do it because it's on YouTube. So have a look on YouTube and put an Israeli mum rant, and it comes up with this Israeli, she's talking obviously in her own language, not in English, but there's subtitles, and she's screaming and shouting about homeschooling. It's very funny. So for those of you who are finding that an issue, just watch something like that because it is very light-hearted and will help. Just you get a bit of perspective that you're not alone. And all of you who are going through all these new challenges, like, you know, homeschooling as a single parent and the other parent not being supportive and not helping you and not being there to share that burden with and having to do it on your own, it's super hard. And no one is saying it isn't, because it is. And there's going to be challenges, there's going to be tears, there's going to be frustration, your tears as well as your kids' tears, I know. But the thing is, we've got to get used to learning to be uncomfortable, learning to adapt to new things. It's very similar to a breakup. You go through a breakup, you've got to learn to be adaptable. You've got to get used to being more self-resilient. You've got to think of new ways of doing things. You've got to come up being creative about how you're going to manage things in a different way on your own. Isolation is very similar. So I want you to try and use the same resilience that you have for being on your own now as a single parent and apply that to how you're adapting to the lockdown protocols and regulations. You know, it's going to be challenging. You're not always going to get it right. And this is this is what I'm saying about everything that you go through the breakup. You're not going to get it right every time. You might feel you're taking 2 steps forward and end up taking 5 steps back. But guess what? That's totally normal, and it means you're human. And that is actually part of the grieving process. And I know we've talked about it before, that sometimes your body won't let you grieve or cry or let go of something until you're a little bit stronger. And then when you're feeling a bit stronger, suddenly you have a breakdown. But actually, one of my videos on my Instagram feed is why having a breakdown is a good thing. So check that out. It was a couple of weeks ago I did that one. But yeah, because your body then is going, what it's saying is, well, you're stronger now, so you can cope with a little bit more. So let's have a little breakdown. Let's let out some of this frustration and tears. So actually, it feels like you've gone backwards, but actually what your body's saying is you're stronger now. So I'm going to let you release a bit more of that emotion, because releasing it is healthy. It's part of letting go. It's an essential part of the grieving process. And now you're a little bit stronger, you can move forward. So this is very similar to what we're going through now with isolation, homeschooling. You know, you're now as a single parent, you're now the cook, you're now the cleaner, not only the mum and the dad, you're also the teacher, not just the teacher, you're the RS teacher, the maths teacher, the English teacher, the French teacher, the geography teacher. It's difficult because the way they teach now is not the way that I was taught, for sure. So there's a different skill set there. You're trying to learn how to be a teacher these days. So it's not even the same. You're probably the PE teacher. And you're the clearer upper, you're the pacifier, you're the entertainer, you're the bedtime routine person, you're the waking them up in the morning, you're doing all the washing, all the ironing, you know, that you are everything. So please don't underestimate the amount of pressure that everybody is under. And everybody knows that you're not, you know, going to be able to manage all of it. So do the best you can. And the way to do that is, with anything, have a think about what's coming up next week when the kids go back to school and how are you going to manage that. because you can't try and be perfect. We're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for doing our best, okay, and a little bit above, because you've got to set an aspirational goal rather than sort of bog standard. So, okay, in an ideal world, we'll get up at this time, we'll have our shower, we'll put our school clothes on or whatever you're going to wear, and we'll start. And then I'm going to do this and this and this. These are the times I'm going to do the housework. These are the times I'm going to cook meals. We'll keep some routine, okay? If you're working as well like me, it's going to be a juggling thing. You're going to have to try and juggle things and know that some things will slip, but prioritize, work out what's more important. If you need to work over, helping your child with their geography homework, then maybe the geography homework will have to slip. You're going to have to make decisions like that, but that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're being a good parent. You're assessing the situation. You're working out what's priority for your family, what's best for them. If you don't work, can you, is that going to affect your income? Is that going to affect your job, or your review coming up or whatever it is? So we've got to all work together just to try and do our best. And if you can get the kids on board with that, often explain to kids, like, this is something that no one has ever been through before. This is something, a global pandemic. This is something you're going to be reading about in your history books to come. This is all new, homeschooling, online, and all these things. The world is changing right now, and it's exciting that we are part of this. Whilst it's tragic and we've got to follow the rules, this is something that you're going to be able to tell your kids and your grandkids about. So what part are you playing? How are you going to step up? I've got clients who've taught their kids to pack and unpack the dishwasher, and it beeps that noise. That means they come in, they unpack, and they put things away. Hey, they would never have achieved that if it hadn't been for lockdown. I've got other kids who learn how to cook pasta. I've got other families who have taught their kids how to use washing machine. Older kids who are starting to learn to use the iron. What is it your kid can do for you? Maybe it's picking their clothes up and putting them in the wash bin. Maybe it's having the shower on their own without you supervising it, so you can do something else, or cleaning the shower while they're in it. Kids love all that stuff. Give them the spray for the shower and a sponge, and they can clean it, and they can do that bit while you do the rest. What can you do to kind of get them interacted so it's not all on your shoulders is also important. And making sure that they know that you're not going to be perfect. There might be some mummy fails or some daddy fails, as they call it, but ultimately you're doing your best, and we all need to be kind and loving and appreciate that everyone is doing their best in this situation. I want to cover one more thing. I've got a lady that's emailed me to say that her ex is still sending legal letters and being incredibly aggressive towards her during this time. Now, he is someone that is known as what I term a difficult person, because I'm not an ologist or an iatrist. I don't go around diagnosing people, but difficult people should be showing their true colours at times like this. So just know that the fact that they are continuing with aggression and being difficult, she's finding it very difficult to cope with. There are people out there that can support you. Some of the things on there I'm going to email you about personally. Some of them I would say you need to reach out to your domestic abuse charity in your local area, because they are offering free support and help at the moment, which will really help you get through that. So I will email you personally, but if you do have any questions or you have anything else that you would like me to answer during these sessions, then please do just email me, DM me, message me, because I am here to help. I've got sessions every weekday at 2 p.m. So if you've got anything over the weekend that comes up, message me and I will cover it in the Monday session for you. So have a lovely weekend. Stay safe. I really hope the sessions helped you, and I will see you soon. Bye.